the pages. It's like so many lives and so many.
It's live right now.
Okay.
I feel deep pride at this boss lady.
No, the boss lady. I needed it like the the animation like.
All right, folks. So we are on our second Caña Negra live.
Yes.
On Facebook, which is great.
This ring light has been coming in handy.
You got one of those? I have one. I have to find it. My house is a mess. My house. I should say. I should say.
No.
Huh?
Your kids did occupy Bronx in the house.
Both the kids have successfully occupied the house. They have a full takeover of the living room and what used to be our bedroom. They have decided that they are going to sleep downstairs. They have taken over Omar, and Omar is going to sleep downstairs with them. I put my foot down and I said, that is not going to happen with me. I need to sleep in my bed, otherwise my body will be mashed up like a. My body will look like a. Those pens, the chiropractor pens that are all bent out of shape. My body would literally look like that if I don't sleep in my bed. And you know what? I don't have the energy. I don't have the energy to fight with them. I don't have the energy. So no. So there's 3 forts in the house now. And I'm like, whatever.
Omar has his own fort?
No. He's sleeping in the guest bed.
Mm.
And the Anayansi's fort has an umbrella and everything.
Wow, impressive. She let it rain inside.
You bougie.
Oh, Gibran put the umbrella there for her. I told Gibran that he had to do. Gibran gives that little girl such a hard time. I told him he had to do something nice for her fort today, and then he decorated it with the umbrella, with my umbrella.
Lives and so many.
Anayansi's fort has. Somebody put on their phone.
Wow, that's a she. Let it rain inside.
You bougie.
Okay, and we got we getting high tech, and we got captioning.
Yeah, I think this dream StreamYard does it automatically.
Oh,
well, Dash got her liquor ready.
I know. I got a little something too.
I have water because I'm. My nerves are. I can't drink like that. My nerves are. My nerves are up here. I'm barely sleeping. I'm jumpy. It's a hot mess. So what's, for our viewing audience, if you can post questions and comments on the sidebar. We will get them. We'll respond to you as well. Today, I think we're focusing on regional solidarity, things and actions that are happening throughout Latin America and the Caribbean and the African diaspora. I think as a whole, we can focus on, and then craziness that's happening as well around anti-Blackness within the Latino community again, and not just I know a lot of times we talk, we make fun, right, about superficial stuff like the rizos and the curl.
It's superficial, but it's not.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
It is important shit. Let's call it what it is, because as long as beauty is going to be a standard, then we cannot say that it is entirely superficial and just kind of negate it.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm not negating it, but for me as Genevieve, to me, it's I don't have time for that. For me, and I understand beauty is important, but it's not, it's not my platform.
Right.
But there are other people that do work on that, and I respect that work. But hitting and you know, like all this like physical violence, political violence, and all the stuff that we're seeing out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier in the week. The targeted violence on Black people, and within the protest, you'll have white people amongst the people, and they are being targeted too. But it's mainly Black people. Like within a crowd, you can have a crowd of 10 people, and 5 are Black, or rather, let's say 3.
Yeah.
Like yes, 3 are Black and 7 are white. They're gonna go for the 3 that are Black.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the co-opting of the movement, if you will, is still like,
yeah. And then you know and then there's some like I know that we're gonna at one point or another read some stuff that we found interesting online. I know there's this post that really resonated with me. Because I personally have not been going out. I have not been to any of the demonstrations. And for anybody that knows me, you know, I'm usually there. I'm one of the people that shows up, and I'm usually there supporting. Not only shows up, but I usually there supporting the organizing, the banner making. My kids usually play a role. They're usually at the front line. They're usually, you know, Omar is usually my partner. Omar is usually there as well, organizing with his crew and team of people. But we're not doing we're not doing that. We haven't done that, and there's a lot within our household. There has been a lot of conversations around that. So that's something that I would like to also talk about, like reasonings, because there are other people that are carrying that. And then I saw this like really great post that Paris Hatcher wrote that encapsulated it for me. I'm just pulling it up, and my internet, I guess, is slow right now. But I thought it was really good. And it says, Black women, girls, and transgender nonconforming people are not on the front lines of this movement because some of us are parents and caretakers of Black men and boys. We are the front line because we're also murdered by the state. We have been the leaders of abolition and freedom movements for hundreds of years, and we demand and work for our freedom, and we demand and work for our own freedom too. Some of you are unclear about the world we are building. It is Black, feminist, anti-capitalistic, and centers those most marginalized, period. We're not building a world where only Black men and boys are valued and safe. Respect Black women, femmes, girls, transgender, nonconforming people by saying her name. Black women and girls are murdered by cops. Say Breonna's name and the hundreds of other women that we have lost. Respect and follow Black women, girls, femmes, and transgender nonconforming leadership. Your local rebellions, organizing plans to divest the narrative power that is happening is because of Black women, girls, femmes, and transgender nonconforming leadership. Root out patriarchy. At these protests, Black women, girls, and transgender nonconforming people are still being subjected to catcalling, physical violence, and toxic masculinity. Black men and boys be accomplices and handle that shit. If you see some shit, interrupt it. Unfortunately, in the midst of so many crises, Black women, girls, femmes, and transgender nonconforming people are dealing with patriarchal violence in their intimate partnerships. And I thought it was just like a really good put together piece in regards to everything else is going on, and we're still dealing with this, and we're still showing up. And some of us just can't show up right now.
Yeah. Like that's perfect, because in terms of we're the ones always showing up, and when we show up, our lives are in triple danger. The point that the person made about showing up to the protest and being subject to violence, even at the protest from Black men, that's a concern that I've always had. Like, I don't like walking in public spaces on a daily basis. Like, in general, for my life, I don't like walking in public spaces. Like, I would rather take a taxi or an Uber. And I will spend my last cent to avoid public transportation because of that, because I've been accosted multiple times, more times than I can count, by Black men. And it's exhausting, it's frightening, it's terrifying. And on top of it, no one ever stands up for me. No one ever supports. The only people who do are Black women, if they happen to be, in the vicinity. And so I was just watching a clip from John Boyega, the actor, that I sent in the chat, how he's getting live in the streets. Like, he is getting live, okay? Yeah, and in his speech, he was like, protect Black women. And, you can extend it to trans folks and non-binary, everyone, right? And he's pretty young, he's 28. But that is something that hasn't been very clear in some of the protests, because people have been citing that George Floyd's murder has incited this global solidarity. And it's like, okay, sure, we're not taking anything away from that. But Breonna Taylor also was murdered very recently. A trans person where was it, in Florida?
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah.
A woman in Toronto was thrown over a balcony.
And in Brazil.
The kids in Brazil.
The transgender sister that was her face was badly beaten up and she was fully stripped.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
That happened yesterday.
Wow. It's a lot. It's like I wake up with like my stomach in knots, and it's like, I'm at a loss for what to do. I've been posting a lot. We've been doing the lives, we've been chatting, we've been talking. We've built resource lists, resources on anti-Blackness and white supremacy in Latin America among Latinos in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So that is on our Instagram. We'll be hosting our anti-Blackness and the Latinx community workshop online on Saturday, June 13th. We said 10 a.m., correct?
Yes, we're still trying to figure out. Maybe our watching audience can help us out a little bit. Will you be comfortable with a 3-hour or a 4-hour workshop? The 4-hour workshop could have a longer break. Or we could just go straight for 3 hours with a shorter little break.
Yeah. So, but either way, save the date. Saturday.
Save the date. June 13th.
It's going down.
And I just finished watching a live with a Panamanian organization talking about racism in Panama. I just really can't get past this conversation in Panama. Needs to move past hair. I'm sick and tired of y'all talking about hair. And I guess it's what Genevieve was saying. Hair is important. I get it. And people have been on that. That's the thing. People have been
years.
People have been on that. So like, continue. I didn't say to stop. Continue. But we need to address these rich white politicians in office. Martinelli stole millions. He's living in he's a billionaire living in a penthouse in Miami. The penthouse was on Scarface in Miami Vice. Okay? And his administration stole millions. And he's out here retweeting Trump on Twitter.
Today?
It was 2 days ago. It was recent. It was this week. And he was also retweeting there was an African immigrant woman. I'm not sure what country she was from. And she was at the protest basically pushing back on protesters saying, I'm not oppressed. Black people can do whatever they want. Stop with the victim mentality, right? Because you have some of those people. And a white woman was actually pushing back against her. I'm like, what is happening? And so the video actually was translated to Spanish, and Martinelli retweeted it on his line. And of course, the vulture Panamanians swooped in, as they always do, with the same people who call Black people parasites in Panama, from Arias, the racist pedophile president, that married a child, married Mireya when she was 18 and he was 63. Let's not forget that.
And then she became president.
And then she became president with no experience.
And no, Evelyn, do you want salt in the wound? She won the lottery while president.
Is that legal?
Right?
Yeah.
Bitch, why are you even playing the lottery? Wow, wow.
She won the lottery while president.
And speaking about that, speaking about the rum, our previous president Varela, his brother, were vice president, president. You know, power loves to stay within the family. This family has owned the National Liquors of Panama. Why are all the presidents and the politicians coming from old money? Let's talk about that.
That's in the region. That's not just Panama.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
That's the whole region.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Canada all the way to the little tip.
And you have Arias's monument, the ugliest monument I've ever seen in my life. You know what monument I'm talking about. It's an ugly-ass monument to Arias, the racist, white supremacist, eugenicist, okay? Actually, he did revoke citizenship and then they restored it. He revoked citizenship for the Black Antillanos that came to Panama to build the country after Afro-colonials already built the country, right? Calling us parasites. And these people today are still calling Black people parasites. And it's kind of like they relish in it. You know, it's like, oh, this is so much fun punching down. And the thing is that, like Genevieve often says, these informal laborers, you know, keep the country running.
Correct.
They are always making fun of the woman that sells the lottery, the woman that sells the sows. And y'all dumbasses are over there buying it every day. And
no, they're not. Their maids are.
Okay.
They're not buying it. They use all our services because they still buy all the ceviches from the mercado. They still buy all the fish. They buy everything from our services, but they don't use it.
Mm-hmm. And then the thing is that in the U.S. there's this culture of making Black women viral, you know, and making them into memes to make fun of them. They do the same thing in Panama. They do the exact same thing, and it's so funny and ha 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 rakataka and no sé qué. And it's like, y'all are despicable. You're despicable. You know, because this is what you're reflecting on the country, and this is what Genevieve and I were just talking about. The 2011, there was a fire in a jail, and 5 kids, because they're kids. It was a juvenile detention center. Which, when you say a juvenile detention center, it's like, why is that even? Why are those words together? Mm-hmm. Why is the juvenile detention center? They threw a tear gas into a cell. It caught on a mattress, and the cell caught on fire. And the guards let the fire go and burned these kids. And they stopped the fire department from coming in. When they finally let the kids out, they beat them and tied them and handcuffed them. I saw the video. I had to turn it off. Their skin was hanging off. They were burnt. I think 5 of them died and 2 of them survived with 90% burns on their body. And so there's this culture of villainizing and criminalizing the poor. And it's by and large, the poor are Black. And so the conversation is always like race versus class. It's not, it's not race versus class. It's both. You can't have one without the other. Like how you can't have society operating without Black people in the informal labor sector. It just doesn't work. And so it's just exhausting to think that we're having these conversations about let's get like hair grease or like gel.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the cops targeting Black people on the daily. And specifically outside of the cops, it's society at large. You know, I've had various conversations with Panamanians because we do the tours here. We do Afro tours. And I've gotten to talking to like some of the drivers that we work with and, you know, talking about the tour and telling them what we do and blah, blah, blah. And you can see that they get like, it gives them pause. And I'm pretty direct with them. I'm like, this is what it is. If you don't like it, then we don't got to work with you. That's fine. There's millions of other drivers. But while on the tour, they end up learning a lot. And I remember one driver, I was like, no one wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I want to be a criminal. No one does that. Who does that? No one says, I want to rob someone, but if you can't eat, what are you going to do? There's no possibility. What can you do? And you're criminalized for just even existing. And this is why sometimes I am ashamed of Panama. Like I was just telling my friend, I got to be honest. Like a lot of the things that go on here makes me ashamed. And it's unrelenting. It's all the time. It's inhumane. And people just act like it don't exist. Oh, well, I made it. I'm a middle-class Black. You know, racism, it's less.
And I think that that's one of the reasons why, one of the things that I've been seeing quite a bit is when people talk about, oh, I don't see Black people that have not identified as being U.S. born or African American talk about this. And I'm just like, there are a multitude of reasons why, including the fact that we're triggered too. Right? Like it's like a double triggering. Like, it's like there's no escape, right? You may have like the other side of it is that because of the way that information is shared, is that there are a whole bunch of US born people that really feel like, oh, are you lucky to be here? And I'm just like, it's fucked up there and it's fucked up here. And I don't even have words to be able to like say anything because I don't even know what else to say. Right? Like there is and I think that is a thought. I think that what you're saying is really powerful, and it's so important for people to recognize that, like, the reason why this has exploded around the world and there's so many other things is because the same shit is global, not exclusive. And so I think that for so many people around the world, it just is like the straw has broken the camel's back, and now people cannot, like, this is just, everyone has to act because they recognize that it's not a unique situation. That people, I don't know if that's, you know how sometimes it's not helpful to even say, I know how you feel and really know how somebody feels. But in this case, it's like the world is like, bitch, we know how you feel. Right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's and I wish that there was a way to really like take solace, if at all, in the sense that people feel as tense, as tired, as broken, because this shit will break you.
This will break you.
This will break you, and that's, it's important to really recognize that and to expose those feelings too.
Yes.
And there is a generation of people who feel broken right now, and it's not surprising to me. In my mid-40s, the stamina that I have has to be done for something else, right? I have less interest, you know. And it's funny because it's like there's a point in your life where like it clicks real quick. Even 3 years ago, I would have been out in these streets. Right? I'd have been out in these streets. I would have just been like, oh snap, it's on, bitches. And now I'm just thinking to myself, like, what the fuck can I do for behind the scenes, y'all? And it's not even the physical stamina. It's the, like, I have to really think about where I want to allocate the other resources that I've developed along the way. And right now, my resources are less about going on the front end and more about recognizing now that this is a long fucking game.
Yes.
If you exhaust all of your resources on the front end, right? Because people can get real hype and be like, oh, there's charges. Oh, they said this. But the reality is that they've said shit before, and that nothing means nothing until it means something, right? So it's like, I think that there is a group of people that are just kind of, and also that you get a little bit cynical, right? In that way of like giving them the side eye, like, let me see what this gonna happen.
Yeah. So
Right?
one thing too, right? And this is like from the perspective of somebody that you know, all three of us have been in this for a long time, right?
Yeah.
In different capacities, but in this for a long time. And this shit is messy. When it's calm, it's messy. And when it's bumpy, it's messier, right? And now, like for work wise, I'm being pulled into a lot of things from organizations and groups and things that where there are more breakdowns, right? Because now it's like Black people are really fed up within their organizations, and they had been holding it in for so long, and now they're exploding. Yeah. So now they're bringing more and more of us in, and it gets to a point where you're like, is it me that's like, are they, all the like, am I not facilitating good enough that there are all these like fires burning because of my facilitation? But I hope that folks are not feeling like that, because this shit is messy. This shit is messy, and the more intense outside is, the more things are thrown onto us. And that's where we have to be protective of our energy and realize and be able to dissect, like, oh, this has nothing to do with us. Like, I had a group today complain that me asking for preferred gender pronoun was triggering.
Really?
Yes. Because for some it's a choice, and for some it's not. But it's not about me. And I get that. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Right? So I was like...
And also, I think that, we've talked about this before on Radio Cañonera, but like the sense that there's a group of people that all they know how to do is be angry. Yeah. And it's like, and it just sits there. So then they can't process past the anger to have conversation where we can actually deal with things so that it becomes a learning moment and not just you're canceled, bitch, because you asked me for my preferred gender pronoun, but your punk ass would have been canceled if you wouldn't have. So there's not a win.
Right. So then it's like, let people put it on their Zoom names without asking. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Like, there's no win. No, but seriously, I think that when people are committed or they default to anger, you cannot, like, there's a point where it's like, and I think that that's one of the things too, as I get older, I start to recognize how, like,
it's not about us.
Exhausting anger is as a default. You ever heard of that saying?
That's just like, I can't.
No, you ever heard of that saying that says, to the person with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that there's a space when anger becomes the hammer, and every single time you just default to the anger. And don't get me wrong, I'm about fucking some shit up, right? So, but I think that when you're not playing to the long game, when anger will exhaust you, it's kind of like crying yourself out. Remember when you were a kid and you cried, you were so mad, you started crying, and then what would happen? Your dumb ass fall asleep. Right? You would just fall asleep because all of the emotions, like, there's no regulation.
Evelyn, as you were talking, I was picturing two little nails walking around my house right now. Yeah. I have just two little nails.
Yeah,
walking around.
But if you only have a hammer, the hammer is the response. Right? The hammer is the response. So if everything that they do, you yell at them, right? Eventually, they're gonna just be like, either not gonna try something, or the yelling is gonna be inconsequential.
Yeah.
Right? That's just what it is. They're either not going to do something because they're going to be constantly afraid, or the yelling is going to be completely inconsequential.
Exactly.
So that is the whole thing, that over time, if we only default with this and we don't default to, like, and I'm not suggesting that, like, oh, I don't want to whiten it up and be like, oh, we have to be like so strategic and show love. Fuck that. They don't deserve it. But there is a space where we have to be cognizant of when anger is like the best, right? The best thing. And then, okay, now what? Now you got angry, now what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then space. For me, I take space. I'm not meeting with this group for like another few weeks. So I'm not responding to that email for like a few weeks.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to respond right now. Because
that's need to strategy.
Right. Yeah. But my message here is like, shit is messy. People's emotions and nerves are up here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we have to be strategic around, like, when we receive all that energy,
right?
We need to, I tell the kids, belly breathe, right? So we just need to breathe and recognize this might not have anything to do with us right now.
Yeah.
We need to focus on this. And we can come back to this later.
Yeah.
Because
and movements need that.
Might have moved on.
Yeah. And movements need that, right? They need those people that are actually not there. Because if everybody is angry,
yeah,
then everybody, it's like there's a community exhaustion, which is what we've seen before, right? Where they're on your timelines or whatever way you get information. There's like 3 or 4 days where everybody is like, there's like
angry typing,
right? Angry. And then when we're done with it, ya me cansé. It's over.
I need to disconnect from Facebook for 2 days.
Then people start talking about how they're gonna cut people off and how they need self-care. And it's like, bitch, you always need a self-care. And it's still there. So then you're gonna turn around and get hype all over again. Yeah. When you could, so instead of going from 0 to 100, 0 to 100, 0 to 100, at a certain point, there's people who might keep you at 60.
Yeah, you gotta pace yourself.
You gotta pace yourself, and you gotta have pacers. You gotta every race, right? You gotta have your sprinters, you gotta have your distance runners, and everybody can't be a sprinter.
Yeah,
so people just gotta be like, you know what? I'm in the back, holding up the rear, making sure that this actually meets that we go the distance.
It's true. I like what John VM said about allowing space, because you don't have to respond right away to everything, and you also don't have to catch everything that people throw at you. Right. Which is something that I have been learning over the past couple years. Like with the comment that you made, or the comment that the person made, I was making this motion like this, like biting my tongue. And my husband does that when we get into like a heated.
He literally bites his tongue.
I'll say something really, like petty, and he will literally look at me and be like, to show that he's biting his tongue, like to be like, bitch. You want the nice. Let's slow it down here, and we end up laughing, because it's like, what are we doing here? You're not the enemy. We're all for the same goal. And it's true. It's true. And that's why I think I'm like so unnerved, because it's so much energy just coming at you at all times.
And some energy is recycled energy though. Like what's going on. I just read a post that, this woman or this person called at Jessie Wu she wrote, Dominicans or Haitians that speak Spanish, the end.
I know her.
And then J Figs wrote, Dominicans are not black. We come from Spain. Diablo. Leave us alone. We don't associate with black people.
Oh, I think I saw that floating around.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, he responded to her that way?
Yeah. J Figs. JAYYFIGGZ.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He was on Twitter saying like black Dominicans aren't black. Show me a dark-skinned Dominican. I'm like the entire MLB.
What? I mean, before you got on, there was I was reading an article that I just found today about how Dominicans, it was like a Dominicans versus blacks in Dykeman.
Yeah. That video.
Like, wait, what?
Yeah. Because do you know the whole story about that?
About how there was like a supposed like, stand your ground, kind of like look at like protect the neighborhood.
Yeah, defend protect the businesses from looters.
Right.
And they had baseball bats, and in the video they're like, yeah, we ready, nigga. I'm like, wait.
No.
We need a Dominican.
The Dominicans talking amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we ready, nigga. I'm like, you know what I mean? So many layers there, okay?
Right.
So many layers.
They are quite what's funny is that in that class that you had done, Genevieve, and there was like a student who shared their experience about his experience and then his sister. Do you remember that, Genevieve? And how the sister was like essentially blacker than he
Oh
felt.
yes.
Child, it was
So this is a Dominican. I'm assuming that they might have two separate or one parent that's different, or they might
that
not.
wasn't even easy. That wasn't even. I don't even think so.
They might not, right?
Yeah.
But the sister embraces blackness or her blackness, and he obviously doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And he is accusing the sister of acting black when she is not black.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to talk. He basically said she wants to talk black.
Yes.
She wants to act black.
She wants to dress black.
She wants to dress black.
That's so funny from a Dominican whose entire culture is so Africanized that they're stereotyped and called lesser because of the way they speak Spanish, which is Africanized, because of the way that they hang out on the corner, which is Africanized, the way they fellowship, the call and response. Are you kidding? So many
And you know, and even basic things, basic idiosyncrasies are very African. So what you know, and there's some stuff happening, you know, that I know. I don't know if Dash, if you have that resource handy, I can look it up. If you don't, that the twins are organizing.
I think it didn't happen already.
Oh, I don't know.
The Brujas of Brooklyn, no?
Yes, did that happen already?
Yeah, Wednesday tonight. It was at 7 p.m. But it should be on their Instagram account still, because
So
it's
look
like
up the La Brujas of Brooklyn. I know there are also groups like We're All Dominican. And what's Francis group's name?
Encultured Co.
Encultured Company. They also do trainings. And you know what? I think we're preaching to the, what is it that I always say? Preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
We're preaching to the choir because the folks that are going to get these resources actually believe already that they're African descendant.
Yeah, sometimes not. Yeah.
You think?
Yes. We began surprise listeners in this bitch.
Yes. I don't think.
I mean here, yes, but I mean like people that are going to go to the workshops.
Maybe.
I wouldn't give them that much credit sometimes. Like I mean, not that they don't deserve it, but like I think that there are a lot of people who do it for the purposes of being cool and being on the right side of history, right?
Like I went and I did it.
Right, like I went and I learned, and I think that those kind of spaces are really they attract people who are learners, not necessarily people who want to align with those beliefs.
But do you think, okay, so question with that, do you think that still is something of value, or is that just a throwaway? Like it's not even worth?
No, I think it's a value.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's value.
I think it's a value. I really do. But what I'm saying is I feel that the folks that think that there's something wrong are not probably displaying this behavior on the streets. And those people are going to look for resources to further what they feel is wrong, right? But the folks that are acting and buffooning on the streets, right, they're probably not going to necessarily look for those resources. They'll probably just attack us and call us the N-word. And you know,
but maybe their sibling went to the program and then can come home and talk to them. You know what I mean?
Well, and he's in a class for Afro-Latinas.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if anything is penetrating if he did that comment to a speaker.
Yeah. But you know what?
And that's my thing too, right?
The thing was that I felt like, I felt really, I was both triggered and I felt for the brother at one point, like the young man at one point, because I really felt that he was confused.
Yeah.
Right? Like there was a high level of him wanting to share the story for the purposes of, I guess, wanting to navigate, right, his own experience and like what happened to me that I'm like this and my sister is like so, and he kept on saying things and it was like all of the adjectives he was using to describe the sister were like synonymous with like black. He's like, I mean, she speaks like, and she dresses like, and like all her friends are, and
It's like she's black.
Yeah. It's funny how people can identify foreign blackness or foreign whiteness, but never their own.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But go ahead. Sorry, Dash.
Because because it's just like, there's a particular stereotypical, I'll say stereotypical Dominican look. The tight pants, the hair, the shave size, the blonde.
Oh, in Panama, you can tell who's Dominican just like this, and we're and
a mile away.
And you can tell who's Cuban. You can tell who's Colombian.
5 miles away.
We can tell, and you can have a lineup of all black people, and you can tell from what country they're from.
Cuban.
And we're not being.
And the thing is, Cubans and Dominicans, from the untrained eye to the untrained naked eye, they probably look the same, right? No, they are the untrained eye, I said.
Okay.
And it's all the dress. It's the dress. It's the outfit and the
swag,
the mannerism.
Yeah, and like from afar, they look the same, but there are certain things. There are certain markers that screams Cuban, and it's interesting because Cubans sometimes will, like my husband was saying, Cubans will sometimes pretend that they are foreigners in Cuba. It's a bizarre thing. And I'm like, how?
They think they're pretending.
What scam are y'all doing? This is stupid. Do another scam. It's crazy. But okay, so I wanted to read a tweet.
Yeah.
From Zaida Kelly, Bad Dominicana. She was commenting on the things happening in Dykeman. She's like, oh, bitch, that time in 1992 Uptown, when Dominicans was the ones rioting and looting because police killed a Black Dominican boy. Can't make this shit up. And so it's quite frightening how Black people can turn on their anti-Blackness just like that.
Yeah.
That's terrifying to me. Because it be your own people. These are the same ones that ratted out the revolts, the slave revolts. You know what I'm saying? I made that comment today to a high school friend because I'm like astounded by the way him and not only him, a few others. I've muted a lot of people. I've muted and blocked a lot of people because I'm like, I don't need that type of energy. Just the people like, oh, not all cops are bad. I'm like, okay, not all white people are bad, so don't complain about racism then. Don't come to me complaining about racism because you sound stupid just like that. And
as to like who is in the police academy in 2020? Like for real? Like knowing what you know. Like I could even see like 10 years ago, but if you tell me today you trying to be a cop, I might have to be like, something wrong with you. Like clearly you're letting me know that you align with some ideology that is like, I mean, people might say, like, I was talking to a colleague yesterday, and like, oh, well, some of them go in.
But I think that's the same attitude I have with people who join the military, too. I'm like, y'all really out here still saying dumb shit like the military defends your freedom? Like, people are really saying that in 2020. It's the same sentiment.
Just say you want to buy a house and you want to get free education. Like I have more respect for that. I ain't even mad. But if you were out here to talk about
defend what country?
Who?
Yeah.
You defending money and resources that don't even belong to the U.S.
For yourself.
For what?
For yourself. Because it doesn't even extend to your family after a while. Just for yourself.
But not even because they're getting crumbs.
Right.
They're dangling that carrot of free college.
They're getting a promise.
Free college and whatnot.
Somebody said, Sandrea said, I almost joined the Marines. It's a good thing you didn't.
You know what? Full disclosure, when I was in high school, I wanted to join the Coast Guard. My parents snatched me from the back of my head. You want to understand how they went in on my dumb ass?
Yeah.
They were like, you were 3 years old when your uncle was killed in the invasion, you dumb bitch. And I deserved every little ounce of that because I grew up knowing about the invasion. It It was within my family. Every project that I did for school was on the invasion. You know what I'm saying? And I can imagine for me to come as a high schooler and look my parents in the eyes and say I wanted to join the Coast Guard. They were like,
oh. But this is the real thing. That's Andrea said. Andrea was going to join not to fight for the country, but to pay for college. That's a real.
Yeah, and I can stand behind that, because I think that, especially if you are of a certain age, the expectation was the way that you showed that you were mobile. You go to college, you incur all this debt, right?
Yeah.
And so if there were ways to kind of have shortcuts to that, then that's a completely different thing versus today, when we know something that is it's not always the same. Right.
But that's when my parents stopped me. I told them, I was like, I want to join the Coast Guard so I could pay for college. They were like, we don't care if you're $50 million in debt. You'll pay it off. You ain't going to no military, no Coast Guard, no nothing. You know, because they experienced that, you know. You'll pay off this debt for your lifetime, but you are not going overseas or wherever to kill someone else's child. Bottom line. You know, period, point blank with the period poo. And that was just the Coast Guard, and it wasn't supposed to be. And they're like notorious for not being on active duty, but they were like, nah, no, we don't believe you. You know, we don't believe the U.S. Y'all always trying some trick, some scheme. You always scamming somebody. They were like, we're not gonna have our daughter caught up in that. But it's true. I mean, a lot of Panamanians do actually come to the U.S. and they do join the military, though. Javier was telling me a lot of his fellow Texan Panamanians joined the military. Some people in his family, when they got to the U.S., they joined the military for those same reasons, for those resources that have been hoarded, and they wanted.
There's a lot of folks from Central America. I would say there's a lot of people from Central America, Honduras, you know, a lot, Belize, El Salvador, a lot of people from Central America that come and join the Marines, and I think it's a lot of where there has been military bases, wars, invasions. It leads to that because of opportunities, unfortunately, right? And those are conversations that we have to have, right? And you know, when you add stuff like in the context of United States, right? And the relationship, for example, with Puerto Rico and Black Puerto Ricans and the draft that happened. And, you know, folks that couldn't vote and can't vote being drafted and having to fight. That you know, and for the book that I've been writing for the past 3 years, one of the interviews, her father was drafted from Puerto Rico, and he had to go and fight, and he was he passed away now, but he was a Black man, and the whole thing and how she explained it, the whole thing was very much, it wasn't illegal, but it was illegal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they never got really paid for their work because they were
slavery. This is what Javier always says, because Javier does his studies in Black Latin Americans in sports and how sports is used as an avenue, a pathway to upward mobility, because these are one of the few avenues that Black people are allowed to flourish in: sports, music, dance, food, sex work, right? And
people about flourish on sex work. They just you know, flourish, you know?
Yeah. And he said that Latin America loves to keep their Blacks tucked away until it's time to win some shit.
Yeah.
It's not even just sports, it's like wars. When they need to win a war, what do? Oh, come on, Blackies. Come through. You know, come on down. They did that in every country in Latin America. You know, Cuba, I specifically have the most, among the most context in. They literally like bribed them to go fight their wars. And then they were like, oh yeah, but we actually still don't like you. You know?
That shit right there is always fascinating to me, how like you can exclude a certain portion of the population, but when they do something that is like for the Olympics, when I see like the Black athletes that go and they win shit And then I'm always like, I know they treat y'all bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is like, and all of a sudden it's like the whole country is behind you. Or again, like a music thing, or but you know that it's heartbreaking.
An abusive relationship, you know? Like, okay, we didn't mean it. Come win this World Cup. But if you miss a goal, you a monkey.
Yes, right there, just like that.
On that field, you a monkey.
They will start throwing shit at you.
Yeah. And the thing is, I get upset because I'm like, why can't y'all niggas stop playing? You know what I'm saying? The first mono that comes out of anyone's mouth, none of us are playing. Now what?
Yes.
So Sandrea says that the government basically says, thanks for your skills, but you still ain't shit.
Yeah. And not even thanks. It's like, oh well, this is what you do. Like, and it's interesting because Javier's field of study with the Black people in sports is specifically interesting because it lends to the larger conversation of socioeconomics and race, right? Socioeconomics, race, and class. There was a Colombian boxer, Pamele, that won like national titles, right? Mm-hmm. And they were interviewing him and they were like, what do you want now? You know, like, you won all this stuff, you're a champion, what do you want now? And he's like, I want running water for my community. And then they got running water. I'm like, niggas have to win multiple national titles to get basic necessities? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
If I had glasses, I would do. That's what you're saying right now?
Yeah.
It's despicable. And this is what Jean-Pierre had said, maybe, it was a year back when I think, what was it? It was Paraguay that was recognizing their Black population. And you were like, and people are cheering.
Yeah.
You were like, that's pathetic. It's despicable that y'all are now recognizing your Afro community.
I think that was 2 years ago. I think that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. You're like, you shouldn't be cheering. This is despicable. You should be ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
This shouldn't even be headlines. You should be just give reparations, bitches.
Yes. But that's the way that the shit works. That's the way that white supremacists be wanting to fuck you up to the point where you gassed about crumbs. That's the wild shit that it will like.
Yeah, because all the articles were framed around like, this is like victorious and this is this, and I was like,
yeah,
this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
It's like 2020. Where are we? 2020. I'm like 2021.
Don't even know shit.
We're 2020 for children to be living in a house with no electricity in 2020 anywhere on this planet.
Yeah.
Is morally unacceptable.
And we have trillionaires. When they came out with the headline trillionaire, I'm like, that's a thing? That's a real thing? No, I swear to you, I felt like the dumbest woman on the planet. I'm like, people can be a trillionaire? Like, I was really like, you know, the gift with the math equations. I'm like, how does that happen? How do you get $1 trillion? But we should have been asking that question.
You can't earn $1 trillion. You certainly cannot earn $1 trillion. You can't work your way into $1 trillion.
Well, right? That's what AOC said. You don't make $1 billion, you take $1 billion.
Right.
Exactly. The people that are earning it are the people on the front line.
Exactly. They're the trillionaires. You know.
So, what was I gonna say?
I wanted, you posted on Afro Resistance about the Colombian guy that was just
21-year-old.
So there were two. So one was killed yesterday, and then one was found today. So two different ones
found.
But the thing that's important to highlight here, in the region and in the United States, so I would say in the whole region and the Caribbean, because in Jamaica, Jamaica police brutality is also very high. Mm-hmm. These things happen all the time. George Floyd's happen all the time.
And the Jamaicans, when the Batty Boy
trans murders and attack and violence happen all the time. Physical violence, aggressions,
militarized police,
very crude sexual violence towards women and girls happen all the time. The difference is this. They're not recorded. So they're made invisible. And I'm sure, you know, when I speak, I'm speaking about Black people. Right? So the only difference is this, that they're not recorded. So they're not made public. But, you know, like if you read newspapers in the region, you see like there is a body found in a ditch. Right? So that happens very often. And people show up in these communities. We don't always hear about it. We, on Caña Negra, we hear about it. Folks, a lot of people that are on the streets hear about it.
Yeah.
But it's not like a massive coming together. The Colombia issue, we've been talking about Colombia. You know, I've been active in Colombia for around 15 years. This is not news. And the folks in Colombia have been asking for solidarity. And there's some of us that have been really active around solidarity here. But you know what? After George Floyd, I don't think a lot of people are going to massively organize around Colombia.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Over there, they had a massive march in front of the U.S. Embassy today. So there's also the solidarity that has to happen that we should be speaking about. But, you know, I've been told as recent as 3 weeks ago, right, that, you know, slavery happened in the United States, not Latin America. And I was told this by a Black woman from the United States. And, you know, this is an individual. This is not a collective reflection. But there's still a lot of work to be done because I had to be like, because the conversation was around, you know, what are some of the nuances, right, that you can tell me about being a Black woman from Latin America? And I was like, what do you mean? And then, well, you know, you all have your language. I was like, Spanish? I said, but you have English. I said, the only difference is that we know Spanish and we know English. But I said, but they're both colonial languages. And then she's like, yeah, okay. Another example is that we are descendants of slaves. And I was like, and then I was looking at the other people on the call's expressions to see if there was anything there, but there was nothing. And I was like, we're also descendants of slaves.
Wait, where did she think that Black people come from?
No, but wait, I said, you know, Brazil had more slavery in Brazil than here. And she said, oh, no, you're right. And then she cleaned it up. But it was still there. And she said it. And there was around 30 of us on the call.
And no one else was surprised? No one else was kind of like... No. Nobody said anything.
Yo, that's, you know, I appreciate this podcast so much. And I appreciate y'all so much because sometimes you do end up feeling so alone.
Yeah.
In these spaces, you know, like you're the insane one, that you're, you know, it's only me. And it's never only you. We have our communities, but it gets so crazy in these streets, you know? Yeah. Like someone was, and it's great to see more people speaking out about it. And people who, I'm surprised in a way, that people who you wouldn't expect. And I'm gonna go in a little bit on my Dominicans. Some Dominican like comedians are speaking up and out, and unwaveringly so. And I'm like, wait, you who, you know, y'all kept saying Afro Latina, you would never say Black, right? Now you say
Black.
Now you're saying Black in caps? What? But why did it take this? Why take this? Why take this? Those are the questions I want to ask later on, you know, because maybe now is not the time. I don't know. But it's really, it's a lot of energies happening at the same time. Like the Brazil thing, targeted murders, the Colombia targeted murders that have been happening, that were police state, military state, state-sanctioned violence. Honduras.
Big time.
Honduras.
Everywhere.
and land grabbing over there, bananas.
They did a thread on the Black Brazilians that were killed by the military police, and it just kept going and going and going and going and going. And, you know, people were contributing to the thread, you know. And it was, you know, you read it and it's terrible to read it, right? Because it's like you have so much of this energy coming, but you're like, you can't. I couldn't stop. It was like 3 a.m. and it was children. It was a 5-year-old, it was a 14-year-old, it was a 10-year-old, it was a family going to a baby shower. The police they shot 80 bullets. Another one, they shot, what was it? Something like 700 bullets. I'm like, how do you even have that many bullets? Good God.
That's multiple people.
Yeah.
Just not giving a damn. Just not giving a damn. That's just what that is.
And the worst part is you have that the president that supports it, that wants it, that encourages it, that wants more of it.
And you have a president that is highly homo and transphobic.
Yeah.
Highly.
I feel like those people be closeted themselves. Like, you can't be this violently against this. For what? How is this affecting your life? You're closeted. You can't come to terms with this, so you take it out on everybody else. In this case, a country.
Yeah.
Wait, can we do something like happy? Like, is that even an option in this?
Well, let's talk about our workshop. So,
yeah.
And we have a few offerings. It will be, I know we have 7 folks that are watching us live. But
hey y'all, what's good?
Say hi. Can y'all, like, y'all talk to us? Like, can we get some energies flowing?
Yeah, put it on the comments. You know what would be some things in the workshop that you would like to definitely 100% have included? Number 1. Number 2, would you want to do a Zumba workshop with Evelyn? Number 3, would you want to do a writing workshop? So we all have our workshops, right? A writing workshop with Chambia. Huh?
I don't have no skills to tell him. What's my work?
You're organizing a cocada workshop with Afro Latino Travels. What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're right.
I want to do a reposteria workshop with Dash.
Or oral tradition, interviewing your elders. I'm pretty good at that.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I love elders. I'm at somebody's bingo hall, okay? Like, early.
B7, boo.
So my fondest memory of my grandmother, and my grandmothers were twins, for those of you that might not know.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
My dad's mother, I say my dad's mothers because they were identical twins, and they were in the same house their whole life, as long as I lived knowing them. And they used to be part of Las Chicas Doradas, which was a club. So my fondest memories were of them and their bingo game. And they used to
chupar, tomar.
No, the elders get crazy, yo.
No, and they can hold their liquor, so they can go. I'm impressed. I'm always like, yes.
But that's why I like hanging out with them. They keep me young.
Yeah. So I used to go with the twins. I used to go to most of their bingo games since I was like 8 or 9.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the best. And then, so I have a lot, like the elders piece and the writing piece. That could be like
right. So
maybe the elders one should be first, and then the writing one should be after. Yeah, because it could be like a storytelling around that.
Yeah, and actually the storytelling, I really enjoy the Afro Resistance. Afro Resistance has story time Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. And I really enjoy story time because you can take off, if for a minute, you can take off all that shit, right?
Yeah.
And you're in the story, and I love Ana Yancy asking questions, and what is this? Wait, where did they go? How did that happen? You know, because then it kind of forces your brain to engage in another way, you know, especially with children, because you can't roll up in there like, bitch, like, what? You know what I'm saying?
And we also talked about having other adult story times too. Like, we recognize that there is a need to have that type of energy, but just for adults. So let us know if you would be interested in Caña Negra After Dark, where we talk about more specific adults. Thanks. Keeping it hell yeah. Right? Right? So there are alternatives, and we really want to be able to expand the platform, talk to people more. So if you are out there and you're listening, let us know something that you think we should be doing, you want to sign up for, what you think is missing in the game.
Email us. We got the email.
Yep. We can do a poll. Maybe tomorrow I can do a quick poll.
Sounds good.
Because
and also, and recognizing that, like, this is, I wish that more people that didn't identify as being from the Caribbean or Latin America would listen, because I think that then they would realize that there's so much that we have in common. Right? That all the things are happening in all the places. And so, like, there is more need to be collaborative and to not think about it as a US based experience when, you know, talking to us and listening and talking to other people as well, that you would learn that this shit is everywhere.
Correct.
Yeah, and we are everything. Like, what song is it? It's an old school song, and it's like everywhere you go, there you are.
Yes.
Everywhere you go, there you are as a Black person. Like, it like that time when you did a workshop, Ev, with high schoolers, I think it was, and they couldn't remember your name, and they were like, all I know is that she was short and lit. And it was high schoolers where in Harlem? Where was it?
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx, right? Yeah. And they were African American, no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just right. Or, like, you know, I always joke that whenever I go somewhere and I want to find Black people, I look for like two things. Right? I'm always talking about, where's the fried fish? Where can I find really good fried fish? And almost everywhere that I've been, somebody will take me to the hood. Or and they'll also preface it by saying, you're a tourist. You may not want to go there, but...
And what's the other thing that you're looking for?
Yeah, what's the other thing?
Oh, coconut rice, right?
Oh, no, that's the third thing.
Which one? Keep it clean.
The strong-backed men?
The strong-backed men. I mean, a sister got eyes. Right?
I went on vacation wearing my strong back. So you really preaching to the choir over here.
I mean, like,
my vacation fling, I ended up taking home. But you know what? My vacation fling, and we joke about this. So, like, don't be like, oh, Dash's husband. No. Anything I say publicly, I say to my husband. He called me. He only has a little bit of data on his phone because you have to pay for Wi-Fi in Cuba.
This is data. This is a sign for data.
He only has like a little bit because the recharge or the top up comes on Sunday. This is the time that we're living in. And so he only has a little bit of data. And he calls me on WhatsApp with the camera. He's like, he you know, I see him like, hey, what's up? He's like, oh, it's just to see you. It's just to see you. I only have a little bit of data. I just wanted to see you. Hang up. And it's just like, you know, heart. With, you know, those little moments in this time. Those little moments, you have to grab onto them and like hold on for dear life, like strangle the shit out of them or something. But I will say, when the aliens come, I'm going straight to the roof. Okay? I'm going straight to the roof.
I do that.
Straight to the roof to hail our alien leaders. I don't care. I mean, like, we got to stop in the Bronx to pick up Ev and her people. Then we stop by a little bit by the bridge to pick up Genevieve and her people.
By the bridge? What's she talking about?
Oh, no. Ev lives by the bridge. By the Celino and Barnes billboard.
Celino and Barnes. Attorneys, 800-888-8888. That's what I see from my bedroom window.
You remember Dr. Zismore?
Huh?
Dr. Zismore?
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Zismore.
A few years ago, I saw a Dr. Zismore ad on the train, and it was like probably 2018. And I was like, damn, they still got Dr. Zismore ads.
Oh yeah, they did. They did bring it back, right?
Yeah.
He's still alive?
Doubtful. I don't know.
Maybe it's his kids now.
I don't know. Yeah, he probably had a whole bunch of people that were working for him, but like it was so funny to be able to like see that was a thing. But we have lots of things that are coming up, lots of opportunities. Also check out all the amazing things if you're interested in, and you should be, to obtain more information and to really start to make global connections. The forums that Afro Resistance is hosting on a regular basis are amazing spaces. Like I've learned so much. I've had the pleasure of really participating, I think, in 2 or 3, and the one about COVID internationally was like so powerful. And it was just, again, everywhere you are, there you are, right? Everywhere
that one was lit.
It could have been, it was lit, and it was like one conversation. Zimbabwe, Panama, Colombia, South Africa, it was like the same thing, right? Like almost everyone was experiencing such a similar experience, really thinking about the ways that all of these things happen. Yesterday, I did a workshop for parents, and these are parents that actually they're in East New York, and so some schools are offering opportunities for parents to have parent workshops on Zoom. And one of the things that was happening, and for some reason it was a small group, maybe 6 of us, but all the parents cried, right? All of the parents cried at some point. And one of the things that came up was for one woman who said that she missed her daughter, that she was an essential worker who worked in a supermarket. And that because of the era the climate that we're living in, that she had been asked to work more hours, and that because she worked in a supermarket, she didn't want to say no, because she needed the hours, right? They need her children like nice things, right? Or they just like anything. And it just occurred to me that nobody's clapping for them at 7 o'clock, right? That when they talk about like the 7 p.m. clap, when we're talking about essential workers, people out here clapping for doctors and nurses, and that's lovely. But that all the other people that are doing so much of this powerful work throughout this time, and they don't got PPE. She was like, we don't got PPE.
Yeah.
I'm out here with like a half-ass mask. And some ripped gloves that rip, and they don't even want to switch them at the protective gear.
And the other thing with these new curfews, right? You have folks that work at supermarkets that would normally close at 10 or midnight,
right?
Who now are losing that shift because now they have to close at 6 or 8 o'clock. And these are Black, Latina folk, mostly women, that are working these shifts that are now losing that extra income that they rely on. That's one side. And the other side is that you have so many people that are still working these low wage jobs that now get off at 6 and can't buy food for their homes.
Right.
And if they get food assistance or SNAP benefits, they can't order Instacart.
Right.
So this is another reality. So while yes, we are fighting, right? They're like, they have us by all sides.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the conversation. That was one of the main comments that kept coming up throughout the Afro Resistance call, the global call, because of the fact that it's like you either stay home and be physically safe but be hungry, or you go out and incur risk and try to earn some, money for your families, right? And so disproportionately, this kind of choices and these challenges fall to Black women, no matter where you're from, right? Mom in East New York, mom in Zimbabwe, mom in Panama, mom in Cuba, mom in Guatemala, constantly having to make these difficult decisions. So when we create these environments where we're suggesting that one group has it worse than the other, we're overlooking the fact that to be Black and to be them is just, you're at risk
Mm-hmm.
globally.
You know, the thing that I really appreciated about the Afro Resistance call last week was everybody was calling one another Tia.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that conversation, it was specifically curated to have elders on.
Yeah.
So we picked folks over 55.
Mm-hmm. They were
And that
That's
no,
the elder.
wait, because that was my reaction too. That was my reaction too. And the folks, you know, Sarah is based in Colombia, and is now collaborating with Afro Resistance, like as an actual collaborator.
Yeah.
So she has like una voz y voto, right? She said that the life expectancy in the region is much lower in rural communities than in urban communities, which is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So in the life expectancy in the area where she's from is around 72 years old. So yes, so an elder is around 55 and above.
Oh
They're
wow.
still called mayoras at that age. So she wanted us to be flexible with that. When the folks over here, and I'm from an urban community in Panama. I'm not from a rural community.
Mm-hmm.
And in urban, and when I started doing research, she's completely right. In rural communities in Panama, life expectancy is very low.
Wow.
And for Black women, even lower. So she was like, so this is like, so that conversation, even within our team, was like, this needs to be, this could be an hour and a half conversation, because it took us around 2.5 hours to have that conversation. And then we said, okay, we're going to defer, like the ones over here, we're going to defer. And then when we were talking to the folks in Puerto Rico, right, and we invited Yolanda, it was like, oh, sí, las mujeres en Loíza, the elders, they're dying off really young because they don't have access to, like, they have their ancestral healing, but because they don't own land, it's so hard for them to grow their traditional medicines. So their life expectancy is lower. So yes, so 55 sounds really low, but here we are.
No, well, I was saying that they didn't look 55, number one.
Oh.
Just like super shallow about that. And then you were like, no, bitch, let me take you to school and church. But it's funny that people in the rural, not funny, but it's opposite of what US people think. Because US people, they're like, oh, I want to get out of the city. I want to go to the country. I want to, work on my well-being. And to them, the rural area symbolizes freedom in a way. Let me get out of the urban areas. My life expectancy and my well-being will improve when I get land, when I go to the rural areas, when I get out of this high intensity, high stress urban living. And to hear you say that actually locals in their own countries, they die faster in the rural areas than in the urban areas, it's complete opposite of what North Americans think it is. Because they're thinking they're in the urban areas, it's more stress. Mm-hmm. So their life expectancy is lower. Whereas in our countries, in the rural areas, there's no resources. So that's how you die slow, essentially, or rather die fast.
Even though the quality of life is higher, depending.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was driving at. The quality of life. People are looking at quality of life, but if you have no resources to sustain that quality of life.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And that would be a really great, that's a good, I think that's a really great conversation for Caña Negra to have with different people from the African diaspora. Because what is quality of life that we are looking for as individuals and collectively, and where can we really find that? Because I'm always asking myself that.
people look at me, like people in Panama look at me and they're like, why would you move from the States to Panama? Like, you're insane.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Panamanians, Colombians, even my Cuban husband, he's like, why would you move from the land of milk and honey to go to Central America, Latin America? Why that's ass backwards to them because you know, the US is framed as this land of opportunity. I'm like, it's a fucking lie. You know, but that's also my privilege too, because my husband is looking at it like, oh, well, you have at least the opportunity to work to make money. He's like, I don't care. And we've had this conversation because the green card and we're looking at going back to the States, which unnerves me, but that's for another time. To him, he's like, look, I don't care if I have to work 24 hours a day. At least I work and I see money. I'm going to see my money. I'm not working 24 hours a day and getting $20 from the Cuban government. And I shut the hell up.
He might be in for an awakening though, because he might be working, and then that money's gone.
Well, no, I mean that was my argument to him, you know. But he doesn't have a context for it, you know.
Right. And no, you have to live it. You have to live it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, tú verás.
Yeah.
You know.
You'll see.
Yeah. No, I've had people tell me like, I didn't move here to work like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I remember I used to work with this woman from Trinidad, and we used to sit next to each other at work, and it was the funniest thing because she told me one day, she's like, you know, I cried last night. And I was like, you know, what happened? Like, why'd you cry? And she was like, there's just not enough holidays here. Like, she goes, there's so much work. Like, there's not enough holidays. Oh my God. I'll work too much.
Let me tell you. You
have to work every day.
I left Panama
with no day off.
I left Panama, and I have to go in a few minutes. I left Panama when I was 15, right? And I went back when I was, I don't know, maybe like 22, 23, when I had graduated from undergrad. And my first job was working at the University of Panama. So my, 15 to 22, I had already worked in Canada for a few years. So I had indoctrinated into this North American capitalist way of working. You arrive at a certain time, you don't get there late. If you get there 5 minutes late, you get a warning. The regular schmegular work stuff.
The white capitalistic hegemony. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my first day, the work day in Panama was at 8:00, right? So I'm there like at 7:50, and I'm waiting to get into the office. And I know they're not listening to music downstairs, but I think that's my life. The music is on. They have a reja. A reja is the metal door.
The gate.
The gate inside of a building. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm waiting there for somebody to come in. Somebody, the person that opens up gets her like at 8:10, and she's like,
strolling.
Opens up, makes coffee, asks me if I want a coffee, and I'm like I want to get. Yeah. I'm like, I want to get to work, and she's asking me for coffee, and then she's like, I have to go to the other office because no tengo una latita de Ideal, and I'm like, what the hell is Ideal? And it's the milk. Mm-hmm. So she goes to the other woman's office, and I'm still waiting there because I'm at my desk, my new desk. I'm waiting there. So yeah, so she goes, now it's like 8:40. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, and nobody's still there. So people are coming in. So then the administrator comes in, and then she's like, Jan. Everybody called me Jan because they couldn't say my name. Annoying. It is what it is. So she was like, Jan, hazme un favor. En el fax, hay unos fax que acaban de llegar. Tráelos, por favor. So I go and I get the fax. You know what the faxes are? The faxes are the menus for lunch. And she asked me to put them on the bulletin board.
Oh!
So as people were coming in, people are check marking and signing which menu they want to order from. And then the administrator is calling la mujer de la comida to order the food for lunch. It's like 9:10. No work has been done. Nothing. So a little work is done. Then lunch comes, and everybody now eats lunch together in the office. The office closes. The phones go into voicemail. Everybody's eating together. Then the phones go back on. The people are in the bathroom brushing their teeth, putting on lipstick. And this is a public office. People go on lipstick. It's like 3:00. And Anabel, who's one of my best friends now, comes to me and she's like, Jan, es la hora del crepúsculo. ¿Quieres ir a buscar mamá llena? Which means like, it's snack time. You want to go and get like bread pudding or something? And I'm like, sure, why not? So we go, we get bread pudding, we come back. The office closes at 4:30.
You ain't sent one email. You ain't filed not one document, not one paper.
Oh, when people were like funcionarios públicos, I was one of them. Mm-hmm. I got used to good quality of life. And it was great.
And as a friend of the public, why you want to file my papers yet?
If you're front facing, it's the same thing. And it's funny because like in the US, depending on where you're from, you never feel US enough. And when you're in another place, you feel too US. When I go to Guatemala to run errands for my mom, the person at the bank, I'm going to like, pay a bill or exchange money or whatever. And they're like, ay, tu mamá, how's your mom? How's she doing? And I'm like, oh, 700. And they're like, no. They even go like this over the counter. And so it's funny because when I go with my sister, we always joke that she has like her finger in my back because she's like, stop with your bullshit, right? Because I'm like, come on with it.
Like, hurry up.
Oh, and your sister is like, be nice.
Right. She's like, be nice. And it's so funny because she's like, the last time she was like, you're cultural. Like, you're not being culturally appropriate. And I was just like, am I being raggedy? And she was like, yeah, you're being kind of shitty because this is the expectation. Like, if you're talking about, she's like, you're always out here talking about respect people and how they engage, and you're being disrespectful about the way they engage. And so on another episode of Caña Negra, we have to talk about the ways that whiteness shows up when Black people travel internationally, because that is a thing. And I know that that's something that Dash has lots and lots of experience with. But yeah, it's like this idea, and I think that we have this, and to your point, Genevieve, earlier on, it's like the opportunity to sit with the mess, not just the mess that we have walked into, but also the mess that we continue to perpetuate when we have opportunities to unpack, learn, relearn, sit our shit out, and then offer opportunities for somebody to be like, you raggedy as shit.
You dragging me right now, Evelyn. Like, you dragging me.
No, and you know what? And it comes in, and I use that as sometimes as opportunities to also like transfer. Like, oh no, you all don't have to put up with this. Like, I've had many times in Panama cab drivers take a route that I don't want them to take, and I've told them I don't want you to take that route. And then they take it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna pay you for this. And they're like, oh no, usted me va a pagar. And I'm like, no, that's very strange, because I told you not to go this route. Mm-hmm. And this is the longer route. And I know where I live. I live right here. But you think I don't know where I live, so you're gonna go this route. so I'm not gonna pay you for this. And then they pull over and they're like, you know, you're gonna pay me. I'm like, no, I'm not. And then I open the door. This one guy, like, he tried rolling the window up, and I put my hand up and I just opened the door. It came out.
No.
I was like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I was with a friend of mine, and she's all nervous. She's like, I'm like, you don't have to be kidnapped for $1.25 or $3.
And if you're willing to kidnap me for $1.25, that speaks about you, boo.
You know, like taxis in Bali are not that expensive.
The fuck? Take it, get the fuck out.
Like you'll find $1.25 on the street, like real rap, like for real, like the Martin, the stupid ass coin.
You don't have to put up with that for $1.25 or $3. He will. I'm like, he will be all right. Yeah. He will find another customer. He will be all right. But he's going up this Loma when I live around the corner here. Mm-hmm. You're not doing that with me. But no, because they don't.
Yeah, it's so scary. You know, like Panamanians be all timid. I'm like, no. I said no. That's not what I said. And then I'm like the angry black gringa.
I'm okay with that.
I'll be that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, but that's, you know, and that's something that I think is a real experience that people have when they're going home. Once you have absorbed energy from some place, you take that regardless, right? So we take some of the outside energy here, and we take some of the, you know, we bring some of that energy externally. Like I'm like, no, a mí no me gusta así, and they're like, The worst part is when you're with someone who is from there, and then they're trying to shut you down, and you're like, no, a mí que me traigan otro steak. You know, like, I need another steak, and you're just like, and the shit is, I would never do that in New York. Never. Like, I'd just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna eat this raw. I don't care. You know what? But I'd be like, no.
Anyways, folks, we're at an hour and 30. Thank you for everybody that has been watching us.
Yes, and an hour and a half. Shout out to y'all.
Yeah, so email us at Gmail, June 13th, our workshop.
Stay tuned for more.
Save the date. And lots more coming.
Yes. Have a good night. Stay black and amazing.
Yes.
Guard your energy.
Black.
Yep.
Black, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye, Macho.
Adios.
Ciao.
Bye.